Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a special guest that will be sharing one of his past projects. We are going to let you decide if it was good or bad or just plain ugly. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, and it is a challenge, folks. Shall you choose to accept it? So here we go. Next time you're at an event, any event, I challenge you to pick a random stranger, that's right, random stranger, and invite them to lunch or dinner. I started doing this years ago and has benefited me in so many ways. In fact, today's guest is a result of one of those initial awkward encounters that blossomed into a great friendship. Everyone has a little badassery in them. Why not put it to use and step out of your comfort zone? Opportunity is always knocking. Your next business opportunity could end up sitting across from you at a conference room cafeteria, or in the case of today's guests, while eating wings at Hooters. Yes, that's right, folks. I took them to Hooters. So now on to today's episode. I am honored to have Justin Balunsat on the show today. So Justin, welcome to the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jen. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm just super excited to have this conversation with you.
Yes, and I am so lucky to call you friend. We met briefly at one time, and I asked him to go to lunch with me, and then I ended up meeting his better half, Devin, who's become also a great friend, and we have both kind of dived into this podcasting thing. So I'm going to hope that he talks a little bit about that later, but give my listeners a quick background on Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again. Thanks for having me. A little bit about me. I was a Navy brat. I moved around a lot. I was born in Spain. I lived in Iceland, came to the United States, was living in Corpus Christi, Texas. My dad's still in the Navy. My sister was born there. And then we shot up to Seattle. I was probably 5, 6 years old. No, maybe I was older. Maybe I was like 7, first grade or so, where I spent the rest of my adolescent and probably through college I was there. From there I moved to Hawaii, got into hospitality and hotels, running food, bussing tables at the pool, and I kind of just worked my way up the corporate ladder from there. I had a really good work ethic that kind of stuck out in this island atmosphere, and so I moved up to management very quickly, and I transferred from Hawaii to New York, to the same chain in New York City.
Another tropical location. Very nice.
Yeah, a very easy transition from Hawaii to New York City. Let me tell you, I wanted to hurt myself for the first 6 months if I didn't leave. Fortunately, I didn't leave because and I'm still here in Jersey. I'm no longer in the city. I no longer work for the horrendous thing that is corporate America.
The rat race.
Yes, I own my own companies. I'm sober. I'm a podcaster. I'm a high school coach for 3 different sports. I'm a doggy dad. I live in the country. I fish whenever I want. I'm living a great life right now, but a lot of work has gone into where I'm at now at 36 years old.
Such a baby. So how did you get involved in real estate?
I got involved in real estate. So growing up, I always did side jobs. I was always good with my hands. I always, framed houses or roofed or painted or did something during the summer. So it always was interesting to me. you fast forward a little bit, and in this day and age, there is an HGTV show for every single house being renovated in America. Although there's a lot of them, they are interesting and they are fun to watch. And at least for us, and when I say us, it's Devin and I, she is obsessed with them. Joanna Gaines and Chip Gaines are like her idols. So it was always a dream. It was always like, oh, that would be really fun. On the other side, it was also, I knew it could be very lucrative if I made the right decisions and I put myself in the right company. So we tried. We wanted to do multifamily immediately. We were going to house hack, rent one side of a duplex, or rent, a floor of a 2 or 3, story multifamily. But it was hard. We didn't have a team. We didn't have contractors. I didn't have systems. I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know how to market. I didn't know anything, and I didn't have anybody to teach me. So after a few failures, I heard an infomercial on the radio going on my way to church one day, and I called it. It was a free 1-day seminar. So I said, it can't hurt to go. I love the seminar so much. I paid for the next 3-day seminar. And I loved that so much that I just gave them a lot of money to pursue the educational program that they offered. It gave me systems, it gave me coaches, it gave me a group of people I can trust, a group of real estate investors of all walks of life and all different places in their business nationwide that I could count on, that I could ask a question to on a Facebook group and it would be answered within seconds. So all of these things to me sounded like just a good starting point and a good education for myself. And that's where I started my business. That's where Devin and I started our business.
And do you regret paying buckets of money for this program that you're a part of?
I do not. I absolutely do not. In fact, I think it's probably one of the better decisions I've made in my life. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions about these educational programs because it is a lot of money. The difference between them and me is that I see it different. And I think you share the same viewpoint. We look at money different, and we look at investment different, and we look at growth different than maybe your average American right now. And you and I want to grow. We want to invest in ourselves, and the tuition to pay for this educational program put everything on my back. I didn't have to rely on anybody. If I was going to fail, I was going to fail myself, and there wasn't going to be anybody else that I could blame. But if I succeeded by myself, and there's nobody else that could touch me. And it was going to make me that much stronger. And I knew people were doing it. And this was a group that had, 50,000 plus members at the time who all paid tuition. So I knew that these people were serious, and I knew you're not part of this group unless you invested unless you're willing to invest in yourself.
Absolutely. And I love that you keep saying invest in yourself, because that's so important to the people who are listening to this particular show, because education is so very important. You want to be taught by people who have made mistakes and have learned from them, and then give you the tools so that you don't make those same mistakes. So it is at this conference, one of the conferences, that I met you. And that's actually when I had the courage to say, hey, you come join us for lunch. And you're like, okay. And so that's how we started our friendship. Now, I ask people, awesome investors like yourself who have great experience, to talk about a past project. And this really helps me because even though I've done several projects, I get to hear a different perspective on things. But what's more important is our listeners, from start to finish, how you got through this project. And it gives them tools as well if they don't have the money to invest in a education program like we did. This at least gives them a starting point. So let's dive into your past project here. So first of all, you're up in Jersey. Was this project in Jersey?
This project was in Jersey, in Springfield, New Jersey, actually.
Okay. I do not know the area at all, but tell me a little bit about the area.
Yeah, it's like northern Jersey. I guess it would be considered north central Jersey. It's got pretty good school systems. It's surrounded by really wealthy towns. This town, we liked this market because of the wealthy towns surrounding it. And those that are getting priced out of those towns were coming to Springfield because they could get almost the same house in Springfield just for $200,000-$300,000 less. So we liked that there's close trains to the city. Like I said, pretty good school systems. And there was a bus stop to New York City that was essentially right across the street. So in our markets, and what we look for are good school systems and direct trains or transportation to New York City, because it's all commuters. And especially with COVID, people are leaving the city right now, and people want a safe place with yards and room, just space where they're not cooped up in a luxury high rise somewhere, but you're still in an apartment building.
So tell us about the actual property itself. Give us some details on it.
Yeah, so it was built in 1950 or so. It had never been renovated. It was a ranch style home, 3-bed, 1 bath. It had a small dining room, outdated kitchen. I mean, it was your stereotypical 1950s home that someone had lived in for the last 50 years, 70 years, whatever it was. It just needed everything. There was opportunity to leave it as is and do a kind of a quick renovation and put it back on the market. But in that neighborhood, you could see these ranch style homes were popping up, doing at a level, bumping out the back, things like that. So we went in thinking that's what we would do. Now, this is our very first project.
Really?
I want everybody to know this. This was our very first project. And so if you don't have to start just renovating bathrooms and doing small lipstick jobs, because that's quite frankly, that's really highly competitive right now. I mean, at any time, because everybody wants that, right? During the thought process of this all was that we thought that it would maybe be a little bit more risky, but a little bit less saturated with investors because of the risk, because you're doing a little bit bigger of a job. But what do we know? I mean, I guess ignorance is bliss. We just said, let's do it. I mean, why not? Let's learn it all. So this was our first project. We knocked it down to the foundation. There might've been 100 2x4s standing at the end of demolition.
How'd you find this property?
I found this property through our local RIA group.
And by the way, listeners, RIA stands for Real Estate Investor Association. Real Estate Investor Association. And they have them all over the country. Locally in North Carolina, in the Raleigh area, it's called TRIA, which is the Triangle Real Estate Investors Association. It's a great group, great for networking. You have beginners and very experienced investors that are part of it. You can find lots of money at RIA events. You can find lenders there who don't want to do the heavy lifting and flip houses, but they have money that they want to invest. So definitely research your local RIAs. So you found it through a RIA, someone you met at a local RIA?
Yeah. So there was a local RIA group, and at these local RIA groups, they have vendors, and their vendors may be hard money lenders, maybe people to help you find capital, lawyers, investor-friendly real estate agents. And there is a difference between investor-friendly real estate agents and your typical retail buyer real estate agent. Those retail buyer real estate agents are not always going to get what you're doing, because you're looking at crappy houses. You're looking at houses with opportunity, not houses that have already been built and redone. And
Right.
a lot of real estate agents aren't into that, and they don't want to spend their time, going through moldy, musty, cat piss infested houses.
Yes. Mold is gold, people.
So we happen to have, and my local RIA group is the North Jersey Social Real Estate Network Group.
What was the asking price, or what did you pay for this property?
Yeah, so it was prehabbed, what they call prehab. So it was purchased, it was gutted, essentially cleaned up, a little bit of yard maintenance, just tidied things up and got it ready for an investor to come in and do the actual rehab. So the vendor at the RIA group was the agent. She had a property that came across her desk that the guy just wanted to get rid of. He was moving, he was old, and he knew it probably couldn't go on the MLS because of the shape that it was in. And he wanted an easy transaction. Again, how investors close on properties is much different than how retail buyers close on properties. So having cash or having hard money is much easier to close, less hassle. So that's where we picked it up. And in fact, we picked up that property and the property next door to it at the same time. we didn't renovate them at the same time together because this property next door was a double lot. We were actually trying to subdivide and build two new properties, new constructions. These are our first projects, but we didn't care. We knew that there was ways to do it, and we knew we had systems and we knew we had support. So we wanted to bite off whatever we could and whatever we can get our hands on. We needed to practice. We needed to get out there and do and start like doing the things that we were learning. So
go big or go home,
Exactly. And you'll see it. And we didn't really make the margins that we wanted to, but at the end of the day, it wasn't about that on this first project.
Gotcha.
We made a fantastic project. And I love what we did with it, even though we didn't make a ton of money on it. And our credibility just went through the roof.
Awesome. So what did you pay for it?
I paid $350,000.
Okay. Is that what it was listed for, or what the investor was asking for? Did you negotiate that, or you just paid the full 350?
Nope. I just paid the full 350. So, there is obviously parts of this industry where you need to negotiate, and and everybody wants the best price, and it's a tug of war, and everyone wants to sell high and everyone wants to buy low. But when you find a good deal in sales, they teach you got to know when to close, and you got to know when to stop selling, or else you're going to lose the sale. And so when you find a good deal, and we just said, we'll take it. It didn't make a whole lot of sense for us to go back and forth and maybe get $20,000 off, or maybe get, whatever. So we just took it at 350. We were also getting two properties. They were going to sell us two next door to each other, the same investor. So, and they were coaching us through it. And so we really trusted what they were saying and their analysis of it. We did our own analysis as well, but we felt comfortable just going with asking. And that's powerful. I mean, that's a powerful tool. If you can go in at asking and give them, everything they want as far as contingency wise, like that's a strong offer. You don't often get an offer of asking, and it's really hard to, if someone comes in with a full asking price, it's like, all right, well, what do I do? I might as well, unless they get a higher one, which, then you got some negotiation to do. But I just feel like it was a strong offer. It was a great listing price. So we took it.
Yeah. And if the numbers work, the numbers work. You just go for it. So awesome. What did you estimate the ARV, the after repair value? What did you estimate that to be at time of purchase?
We estimated it to be about $750,000.
Wow. And then what were your estimated repairs when you first went into this?
When we first went into it, our initial repairs, we thought were going to be about 160.
Okay. And what did that include for the 160?
Some
people that number freaks them out, but what is part of that 160?
160 is everything. 160 was knocking it down and building a new house.
Okay.
Essentially, that number did not hold up very well. We ended up spending about $50,000 more, but for a first time estimate on essentially a brand new construction, we didn't do too bad.
Awesome. How did you finance this deal?
So we financed it with hard money, and we actually used some private money and some of our own money.
Okay.
We didn't get the best leverage. It was our first property, so you're not going to get the best terms from banks. I think we ended up getting like 80% or so of the purchase price plus 100% of the construction. It was 2 points and it was 11%. So it's not horrible. I've seen, 4 points and 15%, 5 points and 14% on first deals. So this wasn't horrible. And again, we found this lender at our RIA group. And two notes on this. We had a private money lender lined up who we thought was going to come through, didn't come through. We're supposed to close in a week. I reached right out to the guys that I knew from the RIA group, and we closed in 5 days. He took the mortgage over, and we closed in 5 days.
Not stressful at all.
No, God, what an experience to like. If you're gonna get into real estate, get ready.
Yes,
because it's fun and there's so much excitement to it. But that first deal that you do, oh boy,
yes,
it's something else. It's an experience.
Some of our listeners, they don't even know what hard money is. It's not like going to get a traditional mortgage and you pay a much higher interest rate, and sometimes shocking to people. And they think, those flippers, they just, are after profit and that's it. But when you are borrowing hard money, it's for a shorter period of time. So the interest rate's higher. But do you remember what your percentage rate was that you paid the hard money lender?
11%, 2 points of the purchase price plus, so you pay points on purchase price plus construction. So it was a total loan of, what is that, for about 510-ish,
Okay.
or right around there, maybe just under 500, at 11%, which is that was just over $3,000 a month to hold. And that's just interest payments. Those are not principal payments. So I'm not touching the principal at all. I'm only paying the interest payments on this loan.
And a point, explain to our listeners what a point is.
A point is 1% of whatever that number is that you're borrowing.
And so you paid 2 points, which is 2%. And you did that at the time of borrowing, or did you pay that at the end?
I pay that at the time of borrowing. At closing, you pay upfront the points, and then the 11% was amortized over the year.
Gotcha. Thanks for explaining that. That definitely helps out our listeners. So your projected timeline versus your actual timeline. When did you think you were going to complete this project? What was your estimate?
We thought we could probably get in and out in about 9 months if we found a good contractor. Unfortunately, we had to fire 2 before we found our contractor that's still with us today. And again, that was another first-time experience. You got to go through lien waivers, and you got to make sure that you cut all ties with these people so they can't come back to hurt you later on, or the new homeowner that buys your property.
Right. And the finding a good contractor is like worth its weight in gold. It is so valuable to have good team members. So during this renovation, were there any surprises? Like, this is your first project. I'm sure there's plenty of surprises, but what kind of stood out to you?
So yeah, something that I didn't know of, when we started opening up the wall to one of the bathrooms, the back of the wall. So we opened it up and about 1,000 razors fell out between the drywall, like in the empty cavity space, but in the hollow wall. And I was like, man, was this a drug addict that lived here? Like what happened? Like it was the strangest thing. I was asking my mom about it, and come to find out in the 1950s, they used to put vanities on the wall that have a little slit in the back that feeds directly down the wall into the hollow wall cavity. And that's where they would throw their razors when they were done shaving.
I totally remember this story because I was like, razors, what? And then, it made me think about my grandmother's house, and they had that same thing where you just like put them in a little slot in the wall.
I don't know. They just thought they were going to sit there forever, and they'd be, I don't know. There's wires and things to go back there, and you're shoving razor blades through the wall. I don't know. So anyways, that was strange. We had a horrible architect who hand drew everything, which seems really like chic and like cool hand drawn, like architectural plans for home. No, it takes forever. We got to redo it. Like pencil marks everywhere. Not cool. It's 2020. There's software for that shit.
Right.
So that was bad. He also drew in like a truss system. We had a finished attic, and so he designed a truss system to create this attic and bathroom room, which was like $10,000 more than I wanted to spend on lumber, in just the truss system. And then he, instead of just framing the floors with normal 2x6s, he had us order like these micro lambs that were just overkill for this. And all of these might be going over people's heads to listen, but it's just material. It's expensive material that is just unnecessary. I didn't know it at the time. I was learning with my contractor telling me, and like, why did he do this and why did he do that? And so it was a learning experience, but it did jack up our estimate for repairs. So
the lumber alone was $10,000 more.
Yeah, because he actually had to build this truss system that create once you put them on the roof, and we had to bring in a crane to drop these trusses on the roof, and it made the room and bathroom. But you could have done it in a much cheaper way. You could have just stick framed it with 2x6s and 2x4s and been done with it. So
any other surprises on this property?
No, actually, that was it.
So how long did it actually take you to complete this property?
It took us a year. We closed almost exactly a year from when we bought it.
Okay. Well, that's not horrible, your first one. Especially if it's like you're essentially doing an entire new build.
Right.
Um, and so when you bought it, it was a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. What was it afterwards?
It was a 4-bed, 3.5 bath.
Wow.
Yeah, we
Okay.
added like 1,500 square feet,
What was the total square footage at the end?
28, almost 2,900. And it
Wow.
was about 1,000, a little over like 1,200 maybe,
Okay.
including the basement when we bought it. So we added a second level and a third finished attic.
Very nice. So you have completed it. What was the listing price? And again, you purchased this for 350.
Correct.
What was your listing price when you listed it?
We listed it at 749, what we thought it was going to go for. There were a few other properties in the area that were not as nice as ours that were listed at 749 as well. So we thought that that was a comfortable place to put it, which it wasn't. It ended up not being great.
So how many days was it on the market?
It was on the market for 60 days, which is not ideal.
What year was this?
This was 2018.
Okay. So the market was, I mean, like right now, everything's flying off the market because there's such low inventory. But back then you had more competition. So
Yes.
you were on the market 60 days.
And it sucked waiting for this thing to sell.
And you're paying monthly interest. So you're seeing that
So
you said it was about $3,000 a month you're paying in interest, and you're seeing that just chip away at your profits. I have so been there, and I wish mine was only 60 days, but we held on to one property that was almost 6 months before it sold. It was horrible.
Did you have to drop the price a ton?
Not a ton. It was just, it had a steep driveway. And so, it was a referral. It was a friend of ours, and we were trying to help him out. And then we probably should, you can't fix a steep driveway. All right. So you get it under contract, and I'm sure that the buyers did an inspection. So were there any issues that came up that you had to fix?
Minor stuff. One thing about inspectors is they need to cover their ass. And so they are going to pick at everything.
Yep.
Luckily, ours wasn't too bad. It was a brand new house, so there wasn't a lot that he could really say, unless our contractor just built it wrong, which we didn't. We passed all of our inspections. I think the one major issue was in the master bath, we did something funky. We had a soaking tub, like a standalone tub, but the water actually came and filled the tub from the ceiling. So there was like a little hockey puck looking thing on the ceiling just centered above the bathtub, but there was no plumbing around it. You didn't see any of the plumbing except just a knob on the wall. So when you turn the knob, the water actually flowed from the ceiling. They just didn't like the flow of the water that was coming out. That was really the biggest issue. Otherwise, there really wasn't anything else. But that's because we did a really great job. Our contractor did a really great job at building it and making adjustments as we went, because nothing is built exactly like the architect draws it up.
Ain't that the truth? All right. So let's get into final numbers here, so our audience can determine if this was good or bad or just plain ugly. So first project here, estimated repairs, you said were $160K. And then what were your actual repairs?
So we actually came in just a little bit over 200,000.
Okay. And that's not horrible, especially in that price point.
Right.
And the interest we talked about, you paid 11%. Do you know what that number is?
So the holding cost, I don't know what the exact, because it was about, like I said, $3,000 and change a month. But as you draw more money for your construction, that number goes up because now you have borrowed more money. So my interest on that 11% interest incrementally went up as the house got built. So actually, what my mortgage was about 3,000 at the end was more like 4,000 because
Gotcha.
I drawn so much more money.
So something important that you said in that is when you are shopping for hard money lenders, that's a very important part to know, is if they charge interest on the total amount that you're borrowing from the beginning, or if when you are borrowing more and say when you're doing draws for work that's been completed and then it increases. So it's only to what you're borrowing at the time. Because our first couple that we have worked with, they give great rates, but we have to pay that percentage from the beginning. So time is of the essence, but it's also great to have the ones where you know if they're going to be longer to pay your interest gradually. So I'm so glad you brought that up. That's really important. What were your holding costs throughout all of this?
So it was about $40,000 to hold this for the year. And that included all your utilities because you're still using water. If you're using the bathroom or whatever, you're still using electricity, you're still using some of the utilities of the house. So it was about $40,000 total to hold the house for the 12 months.
Gotcha. And do you know what you paid in real estate commissions?
It's about 40,000,
Okay.
but it's actually less than 40,000. It's about 33,000, excuse me. But the other closing costs that are tied into there, attorney fees and title all
search
that.
and all that stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So my commission was about 33,000 that we paid on commission. And then with total closing costs, everything combined is about another 40,000 to close on the property at sale that I paid.
Gotcha. So it was listed for $749. What was the final sales price?
665. It went under contract and sold at 665.
Okay. So why did you have to drop it so much?
Because of the market. I mean, at 60 days, I mean, we could have hung around and just waited for the buyer, because it would have sold. It was a beautiful house. So you have to make the decision though, as an investor, when do you need to get out and just cut your losses and not try to hold on for those few $1,000s. Because really it wasn't about this house, right? There's so much more than just this house. I just needed to get this house done. I needed to get it sold. I needed to prove to people and myself that I could do it. So we wanted to be aggressive in getting it off our books.
And 60 days is really not a long time in the grand scheme of things. I totally get that. Sometimes because, you could cross your fingers and hope that it goes the following month, but then you're losing another $3,000 or $4,000 at this point in interest. And, so that keeps adding up. So with your sales price of 665, what was your total profit on your very first deal?
So we made about $30,000 on this house.
That's awesome. And I mean,
Yeah.
I got nervous when I saw the big drop and what it was listed for and then what you sold it for, but you still walked away with $30,000. And that's for someone who is fresh off the boat and getting into the real estate business. $30,000 is nothing to be ashamed of. That is awesome. So
yeah,
great
I think
job.
So too. We had a good time doing it. And again, it's not all about the money. If you make it about the money, you're going to have a miserable life. It was so much more than the money. I learned more in that year than I think I learned in 12 years of school, just real life business, like running a business, being a businessman and being a project manager and a construction worker. And I mean, just so many things.
And you found a great teammate in your general contractor. You know not to use that architect anymore. So those things are only going to make all jobs from there on easier. So after completing this project, what were some of your main takeaways?
Know your market.
Okay.
Some things that also delayed the sale and reduced the price, I think, was that in our market, people that were buying in this neighborhood were preferring a formal dining room over an office on the first floor.
Really? And how funny times have changed because now people are working at home and working in their dining room. So that's hilarious.
Yeah. So we had an eat-in kitchen. So we had an island and a small little area that you could put, a high top, or you could put like a small four-person table, dining table, just another place to hang out right off the kitchen. But there was an actual office with a door instead of a dining room on the first floor. And and you wouldn't think that would hurt you that much, but it really hurt us. People just wanted that dining room. It was an open floor plan, which everybody wants. But this neighborhood, they also wanted a formal dining room. And so if we would do it all over again, and we thought about chopping up our walls at one point, when the end of, coming up to 2 months, we thought about, man, do we open this wall up and make it a dining room? Like, because we had to make some, we had to get this thing off the books. It just didn't make sense for us to keep holding it. And we knew we were going to lose money if we held it for a few more months. So we would rather just lose it up front and know what we're going to lose and get it gone and take what we can and move on and call the rest, just pockets full of experience.
I love it. I can remember one of our projects early on, you take your before pictures and after pictures, and then later we were asked to present and looking at them. And so when I do projects, I think of all the things that, from that point on that I do differently. So now when I do before and after photos, I make sure that I still have like a window or something in the, same spot for the after
Right.
picture as well. So people can really see the difference. So how about you, when you do future projects, do you do anything differently now because of this project?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like the framing of the property and the trust systems that I learned about. I learned about what mechanically which trades should go first, second, and third as far as plumbing, HVAC, electric, just for efficiency. You learn. There's a million decisions that you have to make in real estate when you're renovating a property. Some super small and some super big. But every project that we do, like anything else, you're just going to get a little bit better. You're going to get a little bit more efficient. Our team is going to know how we work together now. We're actually going to have a team. We have a team now that works with us. And so, yeah, you learn a ton of stuff. For me, it was everything. I mean, I know it's kind of broad, but I literally, our first project, we built a new house. So we did it, but I know I can do it. And now I can do it that much more efficiently. And so we have a house right now. We're doing something very similar, except the ARV is looking to be in like the $1.5 million range.
Whew.
And if it wasn't for COVID, we would have been out of it in 6 months, and literally down to the studs, new house. We would have been done. We're going to be done at the end of November or December sometime. And that's after a 6-month hiatus that forced us to pause, but we bought at the right price. And so we didn't panic when all the work had to stop around the country. We knew we could hold it. And then luck turned our way. And in fact, COVID has really helped real estate, especially if you're in and around a major city, say within 30 minutes to an hour, because people are fleeing compact, congested cities right now. So buying the house and I'll go all the way back, buying the house, we reached out to some investors in our RIA group to get their opinions on the house. We had it under contract, and all of them almost said it was a mistake and we should get out. Now this house is appraised over $100,000 more.
Wow.
A year later than when we first bought it.
Well, good for you. That is awesome. So thank you for sharing that project. It just helps our listeners to hear everything from start to finish, any, issues, how to avoid razor blades flying out of the wall at you, that's so crazy. So the second part of my show, I like to, because I truly think you are a total badass. So I want to know what makes you a badass. And it's an acronym I use. So the B in badass, I want to know a book that has made a huge difference in your life. And I joke, and I've actually had to put this in my notes now. I say, besides the Bible, because so many people say the Bible, and that is a very important book, but we are looking to introduce new books to our listeners that will help them. So what is a book that made a huge difference in your life?
So I'm going to go 2 books, and it's from the same author. His name's Jesse Itzler. If you're familiar with Jesse Itzler, he is a huge on mindset. He is a self-made entrepreneur, hyper successful entrepreneur. And he's also into athletics, and he's 50 some years old, and he runs 100-mile marathons and does some pretty cool shit as a 50-year-old. So
God,
he has a
50. Holy cow.
50. 51 or 52 now, I think. So he wrote a couple books, and I think they were actually New York Times bestsellers. Living with the Seal and Living with the Monks are two books that he wrote. And Living with the Seal, it's not the animal, it's the Navy SEAL. He invited a Navy SEAL, his name is David Goggins, to his house for 30 days to live with him and do everything that this guy does. And they met running a 100-mile race. So he does some pretty intense, long distance endurance stuff. And he writes about his experience with living with the SEAL and just the mindset, the toughness that it takes, or just the toughness that we all have inside of us that we just can foster if we reach down and really grab it and hold on to it. And the other one is Living with the Monks. And this is, again, Jesse, and he went up to upstate New York and lived with a group of monks. These are not Buddhist monks in orange gown or orange robes. It's a very different sanctuary up there. But again, mindset and just completely getting out of your comfort zone. Yeah, I think just the growth, and he writes about the growth that he had in the few weeks that he was at the monastery. And I just think, as I've gotten sober and as I've become an entrepreneur, I hold my mindset it's just so important to me. And it's so important that I protect it and foster it and grow it. And because it really can make my life open up, or it can kill me.
Absolutely.
And so I just think it's super important to make sure that you're tuned into your mental health.
Yeah, I love me some Jesse. I've heard him speak, and I heard the story about the Navy SEAL and scared the shit out of me. I was like, ugh. But I did not know about the monks. So I'm definitely gonna have to check that one out. But my favorite Jesse Itzler quote is, "I didn't come this far to only come this far." And that is so true, because you start stressing out sometimes, like bad news after bad news, and that happens all the time in real estate. But you didn't come this far to only come this far. So it just is one of those things, to keep going. So thank you for bringing him up. I do love me some Jesse, and he's married to a sorority sister from my my college sorority. So love her.
Kidding.
Yes. Yeah, she's gorgeous. Anyway, so the first A in badass is advice. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best. So I chose a saying because I like sayings. I think it comes from I think I first heard it, at least, from the educational group that we're a part of. And it's, how you do anything is how you do everything. And that really stuck with me. And if you look back, if I look at my life, it's true. How successful or unsuccessful I've been, really, how do I live my normal life? What are the decisions that I'm making? What are the small decisions I'm making every day? Because that's the outcome that you're getting at the end of your day, or at the end of whatever, is a factor, or is a product of a bunch of small decisions that you make throughout your day.
And I know you've had some trials in your life. I know you live by that saying. So the D in badass is drive. What drives you to be successful?
Today, today, because
not yesterday.
There was a time in my life where my mind was really crazy and I was not thinking this way. Right now, I just strive to be uniquely myself. And I think if I can be uniquely myself, then the success will come after that.
Awesome.
I don't think that there's any way around it right now in my life. I have to be completely uniquely me and unapologetically me in order to be who I can be.
Well said. All right. Aspiration. I love hearing what goals people are working on. So what is a goal that you are currently working on?
So Devin and I are trying to acquire as many passive income properties as possible.
And that's rental properties,
Airbnbs, anything that is making me money while I sleep.
Perfect.
And I'm also on a new venture with my podcast. So I think another one of that is getting that up and going, because it also has some effect on our real estate business.
So let's take a quick break here because your podcast, my audience members are listening to me, and this is a show that I've created to kind of get more content out there. And this show would not be here if it weren't for you, Justin. And you are such a good friend, and you knew to push me out of my comfort zone. I pushed you out of your comfort zone and forced you to go to lunch with me that first time. But, it was later on, I started doing some coaching stuff. I had my online mastermind, and I was doing, and you didn't know about this, but I was doing some other training myself on coaching and doing things like that through Jack Canfield. And I was feeling really, really stuck because the Rona hit and I couldn't get out to do more speaking in front of people. And so you really pushed me out of my comfort zone and had me join what's called PodMax. And it got me on 3 very amazing podcasts that are, highly rated, very reputable, tons of people listen to. So it really had a lot of exposure for me and my business. And so I am forever grateful to you for that. You have a podcast yourself, and I love the title. So share the name of your podcast with my listeners.
Yeah. So thank you very much. And it's weird to hear like that it was pushing you out of your comfort zone, because I really brought it up to you because I thought it was right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I didn't bring it to you because I thought like, oh, she could really like push. I thought like, man, I just saw who you were, and you're outgoing, and you got humor that's involved
and looks
and looks.
Yes.
But that's looks are secondary. Come on. But I just thought that you needed something like this, and people needed to hear your voice. So I'm glad you took that opportunity that we brought to you. And
yes.
Listen, we only brought you the opportunity. You got to walk through the door,
That's true.
So kudos to you.
Thank you.
But back to me. Okay, Jen.
Yes. All about you. Let's tell us about your podcast.
So the alcoholic entrepreneur is this mindset that getting sober and dealing with trials and tribulations and fear and failure and people talking to you all sorts of crazy ways because they don't know how to act around you when you stop drinking, and I mean, there's so many things and emotions and feelings and everything that you go through as someone dealing with addiction and trying to get sober. But once I got clear and I had a little bit of time under my belt, I'd say like maybe a year, I started realizing that the same things that were helping me stay drunk and then get sober and then become an entrepreneur were all kind of the same things.
Right.
It was just perseverance, and it was just being resourceful. It's funny, like being an alcoholic, you have to be super resourceful in where you're telling your lies and who you're telling and what kind of mechanisms you're using to hide your booze. And then you have to be resourceful in getting sober and making sure you have sober people around you. And then as you become an entrepreneur, you know, the same thing. So that's what the podcast is about. From a very baseline level is the mindset to be successful in both sobriety and business. To add a little bit more to that, I also just want to change the stigmas wrapped around it. I don't think it needs to be looked at as an illness, as someone who's sick and needs help. I think that people who deal with addiction can be fantastic entrepreneurs if they can clear their mind because of everything that they're going to go through in that process of getting sober. So I think that there are genius people dying because of stigmas wrapped around addiction, which means that we're missing as a world and society opportunities to grow if these people are not helped, and their uniqueness is not, shown to the world. And people, the more people we lose like that, it's there. What I'm saying is there's very talented people, and it's weird how addiction and talent in the mind are just very similar. Like it's an obsession of the mind, and people that are really good at things get really obsessed with those things. And so someone dealing with addiction gets obsessed with that substance, that drink, that high. If you can replace that high with some real life things that they're really good at and get really obsessed with, I've experienced the actual high that life gives you. And I got that actually through podcasting and listening back to my first podcast that I hosted. As I was listening to it, I was getting this euphoric feeling in my mind. Like my brain literally felt like it was on fire. It felt like little sparks of electricity in my brain, which I'd never felt before. And the only thing I could say was that it was this real high because I was doing something that I love doing. I'm doing it for good reasons. It could potentially save lives, and I'm giving good information about business and all these other things. But it's how do you replace that obsessed thinking from that addiction, that substance, and put that to something that's really, really useful to the world?
That's great. And I had the honor of being on your show, and you are so good at the conversation and keeping things going. And I totally get it, because for it to be a high for you, I see it in everything that you do. It just exudes that you are so good at it and you have such a passion for it. So I do appreciate you doing that. And from going from alcoholism to entrepreneurship, and you are building a new high right there as well. And when you build that empire, and you and Devin have this great business together, and for you to, be battling sobriety at the same time only makes it so much better in the end. So I'm so proud of you. I'm honored to call you friend, and I appreciate you sharing, that with my listeners. So there could be someone out there listening as well, and that's going to make a huge difference for them. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, my badass friend. So back to the last two letters of badass. The first S is system. So what systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
I think this is another kind of quote. I think the first one is, don't be the smartest person in the room.
Yep.
Surround yourself with people who do it better than you, and who've done it longer than you. It's a very humbling experience, but your ego is going to hold you back. And if you want to be the big bad guy that does all these things, and you want people to come to you and listen to you and blah, 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 you're going to have a really lonely life. And I don't know if that's success, no matter how much money you have.
Right.
So have people around you that are better at what you're doing than you are. And one day you'll be that person to somebody else.
That's great.
For me, success is also keeping sober contacts. Going to therapy, I think, is something that everybody should do. I don't think it's just for those that are suffering with a diagnosable mental health disorder. I think having somebody you can dump your shit on is important. And it shouldn't be your husband, wife, girlfriend, brother, sister, mother, dad. It needs to be someone who's not going to take it personal and who doesn't give a shit.
Right.
But everyone needs that. And I am a huge proponent of a therapist. I have multiple therapists because I have crazy thinking, and that's okay. That's okay with me because they're helping me. Network everywhere. I think that goes along with surrounding yourself with the right people, but always be ready to talk about what you do. Don't let an interaction, you never know when someone's going to walk into your life and completely fucking change it.
Yep.
Completely change it. You never know. So don't waste an opportunity by being judgmental of how they look or how they sound or what they smell, or, be ready to network and tell people what you do at a drop of a dime. And don't be sorry about that. They're like, own that shit. There's nothing wrong with you telling people what you do. Own it. And you're going to be that much more confident and consistent, and people will be drawn to that confidence. Even if deep down inside you're scared shitless and embarrassed.
Right.
Say it with your chest.
Awesome. Love it. And then the last S in badass is success. So that's a heavy word right there. What does success mean to you?
To me, success right now is being able to help other people. And I think I interviewed a gentleman named BJ Clock, and he says, and he learned this from one of his mentors, if you help other people pay their bills, eventually you're not going to have to pay your bills.
That's true.
And so I think just helping people and being altruistic, and just not having expectations of people, and just, again, going back to making a lot of positive, good decisions throughout your day. And they're not always going to be good, but if you're aware of And being present, I think being present, being aware of what you're doing and not just making aimless decisions because you make them all the time. Be present in what you're doing every day, and you'll see how your life will just start exploding with things, and things can start changing. Things can absolutely change. And my life is a testament of it. I used to drink a pint of Hennessy or bourbon before my shower in the morning.
Ugh. Wow.
And then I would drink a bottle of bourbon a day.
Wow.
At work. And maybe some IPAs if I drank all the makers. So your day and your life can change. I'm living the best life I've ever, my best life. I'm literally living my best life. And it's going to get better because I want more, I want more. Yeah, there you go. She's got the t-shirt on, says living my best life.
My t-shirt actually says living my best life. That's so.
Yeah. But I am. I mean, I could not be happier right now. But the funny thing is that I know I'm going to. I know that successes are just coming. I know that I don't know how happy I'm going to be. I don't know where my life is going to go, and that's okay right now. I do know that as long as I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to have a blast.
Well, you have every reason to be proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. I've seen what you've done the same time. We started about the same time and how we've both grown our businesses. So thank you so much for being on the show today. What is we didn't even say the name of your business. So what is the name of your company for our listeners so they can find you?
Yeah, we just got right into it. So our real estate company is Just Divine Properties. And you can find us at justdivineproperties.com, on Instagram and Facebook at just_divine_properties.
And where'd you come up with the name for that? Because I'm always curious how people name their companies. And that's a great name for a company.
Yeah. So my name, obviously, Justin, and Devin is my fiance, and she spells her name a little funky. And so some people think it's pronounced divine. So she got divine a lot growing up. And so we kind of, as we were thinking about her name, I just thought we were going to do like divine. She always held on to divine, and I was like, I can't be part of the name. So I said, what about Just Divine? So it ended up being Just Divine Properties, and that's how we got it. But I love it because I like the word divine too. I think divine is a very, very specific, powerful word. And whether you're faithful or not, there's a divinity part of that to me that I like. But if something is good or great or awesome, that's cool. But if it's divine, what's better than divine? I don't know. So that's what we like about that.
Love it. And then how about your podcast? How can they find your podcast?
Yeah. So my podcast, my first 4 episodes just went live today. You can find them on every major podcast provider that is out there. And it's called The Alcoholic Entrepreneur. At The Alcoholic Entrepreneur is specific where you can find us on social media. And then you can also go to alcoholicentrepreneur.com. There's a link in there if you'd like to be a guest. It just helps build my database. You can tell me a little bit about you so I know kind of where the conversation would go. And if it's something that might be interesting or something that, people might want to listen to, I'll reach back out. I'll reach back out to you either way. But it is a very specific kind of podcast. And so I want to make sure that we're getting the right information out there to people.
So if you're an entrepreneur, you should definitely check it out. Being a guest on a podcast has made a huge difference in my life, thanks to Justin. So check him out. And that is all, everybody. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery, and don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.